Welcome to another installment of Running Back by Committee here on Fantasy Focus, brought to you by the Original Hooters. I'm Derek Tate alongside Ryan Levy and Matt Bucks as we break down the backfield of the Minnesota Vikings, Skull Vikes, heading into the 2020 NFL season. And it was a breakout season in 2019 for the likes of Dalvin Cook out of the Florida State University, finishing with a top 5 running back season in PPR formats. And now he enters this potential 2020 season, knocking on wood that we actually have one here for the NFL amidst the coronavirus. He's threatening to hold out for a new contract, which it's kind of odd for a player like Dalvin Cook, who hasn't actually played an entire 16-game season yet, have one really breakout year and already wants a new payday. So Alexander Mattison, though, boys, second year out of Boise State, waiting in the wings just in case Dalvin Cook decides that he is going to miss the regular season, or at least miss some of it, in hopes of a new contract. So, Levy, I'll throw it to you first, being the FSU, lover that you are, my friend.
Yeah.
Knowles. When it comes to Dalvin Cook on draft day, are there any hesitations with him threatening for a holdout? Do you take his holdout threat as serious? I mean, do you kind of have to with all the recent, with Le'Veon Bell a couple years ago and even last year with Gordon? I mean, what are we to make of his draft day price right now that he's threatening a holdout?
Yeah, I mean, I think his draft day price right now is right where it should be. He's going at like 106 for the last month anyway, and we're getting closer to draft season. So for me, Dalvin, you guys know I'm probably one of his biggest fans. I think he's capable of being the number one fantasy back. Like I think he could challenge CMC and Saquon and Zeke for that number one spot. Or I mean, even if you want to talk about Aaron Jones, whatever. But I think he'd be a fool, obviously, to hold out for a contract. We've seen how that plays out. It doesn't necessarily work well for running backs. We talk about this all the time. There's just a lot of running backs out there that are talented. It would be a foolish move. But I think if you're going to take Dalvin in the first round, there's certainly some risk associated with it. So I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to go a different direction. But Madison's currently going in the mid-8th round. And I feel like if you draft Dalvin, you need to reach into the 7th to get Madison. Because, like you said, Dalvin's also an injury risk. He gets banged up. He's probably going to miss 2 or 3 games and still have a monster fantasy season. But you need to have a backup plan there, either way.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with you in terms of having a backup plan. Madison was productive with his carries. He actually had better YPC than your guy there, Dalvin Cook. And the other thing that's extremely puzzling, you're on your rookie deal. You have not played a full season.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 teams in the NFL that rushed more times than the Minnesota Vikings. You're in the best possible scenario to showcase your talents. And it's not like they rode him into the ground last year. He barely exceeded 300 total touches. And this is a guy who does his best work in space. And yeah, he takes some hits. There's no doubt. Dalvin Cook, he takes hits because he gets hurt. But my issue with it is, what better opportunity do you have to really showcase yourself to get that second pro contract where you really bank in your money? Considering he came out early, he's a young guy. He's going into his 4th year in the NFL at 24 years old. This is the perfect opportunity for him to just seize a mega deal, whether it's with Minnesota, which wouldn't be a terrible thing, right? Considering that they love running the football. Captain Kirk loves handing the ball off to 33 and hitting him on a little bit of a little zig route there. Loves doing that. But my biggest issue is he really going to go through with this? Because does he have the wrong people in his ear? And that scares me as a fantasy owner, especially a guy who a lot of people are selecting in the top 7 of their drafts. So for me, I'm actually pumping the brakes a little bit on him. If he's there at the tail end of the first, the talent is absolutely there. Just look at what he did last year. He's awesome. I mean, when this guy's clicking, he's as electric as any player in the NFL in terms of running back position. So obviously I think he warrants a first-round pick. Kyle Senra, I see you right there. Does anyone have Cook outside the top 5 RB? I actually do. I have him just outside, and it's not just the contract talk. I don't think they're going to give him a new deal. I really don't. I mean, this is the NFL. Because Alexander Mattison is not a bad player. So if they need to just wait it out and throw Madison in there, I don't think they're really going to feel all that different in terms of the base structure of their offense. He's not the receiving threat of a guy like Dalvin, and that's the big issue because I think that's where Dalvin is most dynamic. But golly, I sometimes I think to myself, if I'm a rookie or I'm on a rookie deal and I have an opportunity in a great offense to just show my stuff, and then the sky is the limit in terms of that next contract. So I am concerned, but I love Madison. 8th round still seems very steep for Alexander Madison.
Well, you got to ask yourself, how much standalone value does Alexander Madison have? And in PPR formats, I mean, despite him actually looking good when given opportunity and given the ball last season, which I agree, like he's not a bad player at all. And if he is the lead dog in an offense that wants to primarily run the football and control the clock and control possessions, then yeah, I mean, Madison immediately returns on 8th round value. But I mean, investing a 7th, Levy, if say you have Dalvin Cook and you took him in the 1st round, I mean, you're spending, pretty decent draft capital to have to make sure you get an insurance policy. And that's all that Madison really is, because in PPR formats, there in the 8th round, I want nothing to do with Madison. Again, he is the only thing I want him for is an insurance policy, handcuff, whatever you want to call it. So, but Bucky, you mentioned when it comes to Dalvin Cook, I think he is one of the best dual threat running backs. I mean, of course, all running backs are dual threat guys, but I think he is one of the more dangerous weapons out of the backfield. And his involvement in the passing game last year was significant. I mean, I think he caught like 53 passes in 14 games, really 13 and a half, because he got injured. I think it was in like week 15 or something like that and didn't finish the game. But point being, he's one of the best pass catching threats that can pop a big run at any given moment. He's right there behind McCaffrey and Saquon. He would be my number 3 back in all of fantasy football rankings if there was no threat of a holdout. So for me, he does fall to the back end just outside of my top 5, Kyle, at the running back spot, because if you're going to threaten a holdout, even though I think that what leverage does he have?
None.
I mean, he's proven that he can't stay healthy, right? Am I crazy? I mean, he hasn't played
You're not crazy at all.
Season in his entire career.
I'm just saying that. Yeah,
he is the man, though.
Yeah, he is. He's a good player. I have him because of this. I have him at number 5 in my rankings. I've got Eckler, Zeke, Saquon, and McCaffrey ahead of him right now, and Henry close. Like, I play in a lot of leagues, so I'm probably at 5 going to pick Henry over Dalvin in several leagues because it's a safer play. He's going to get 300 carries.
Dang, you got Eckler in top 5. I like that. My top 5, Kyle, there's CMC, Saquon, Zeke, Henry, Kamara. And then it's in between a guy like Eckler, a guy like Dalvin Cook. I think, if Dalvin Cook is all well and good in terms of contract situation, I have him ahead of a guy like Eckler. Eckler gets slept on, but this guy's a beast. No, that's a segue. Totally different conversation.
Right.
So here's, but actually Eckler is interesting because I want to kind of go back to the Alexander Madison lottery ticket, draft day price, ADP, whatever you want to call it. Because last year, I was banging the drum of saying take Austin Eckler because he has standalone value, even if Melvin Gordon comes back and plays. That is not the case with Madison. Maybe if you're in a super deep standard league, maybe Madison has like some, bye-week flex type of like ceiling. But dude, I'm not drafting Alexander Madison if Dalvin Cook is a go to start the season. He's just a lottery ticket in case someone gets injured. Which, I mean, there is a possibility of that. But even when Cook got hurt last year, Madison wasn't available. It was Mike Boone.
Well, because
Big
Madison
Mike
got
Boone.
hurt too. Madison was hurt. That's all.
That's what I'm saying. Like taking players, as like a backup option that have zero upside. If the incumbent who is threatening a contract holdout comes back and plays, I hate wasting draft picks like that in the 7th round.
8th round is insane.
I disagree because I think he's got some. If you're playing in like a 14-team league, Alexander Madison has some standalone value.
I think
don't
that's
see
pushing it. You can't convince me that if Dalvin Cook is healthy, that you'll ever feel good about starting Alexander Madison.
No, you're not going to feel good, but I think, especially if you're drafting Dalvin, though, you need to make the investment in Madison. That's what I'm saying. Because when he goes down, he can replace him pretty well.
We'll take the contract out of the scenario. Take it all the way out. Where are you comfortable taking Alexander Madison?
I'll take him in 9th round.
9th round?
That's nuts.
Nuts.
I think he is the number 2 handcuff in the league. There's only a couple that I would even take, and it's Madison and Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt and Madison are on the same playing field for you?
No.
I think Kareem's got more standalone value, obviously, so I would take him over Madison.
I think he does.
But if I have Chubb, I want Hunt on my team too.
I mean, dude, he has no involvement in the passing game. I mean, that's apples to oranges.
The red zone, dude. He's a red zone guy. He could score 8 touchdowns.
You're big, dude. He scored 1 last year. He scored 1, a grand total of 1.
I'm not going to take the touchdown statistics year over year and say like this equals this amount of production as far as goal line carries go next year. But my goodness, man. My goodness. I feel like Alexander Madison, you just compared him to Kareem Hunt in a weird way. And it's got
really.
And I don't want our Minnesota, subscribers to sit there and think Buck just hates on Madison. I don't. I actually love the talent. No, I love the talent. But Dalvin Cook's the man. They're going to figure it out. Whether it's Cook drops this and realizes that he has 12 months, not even at this point, 11 months until he's got to sign a new deal somewhere, that's fine. Or they'll franchise tag him. I don't mind that either.
How about like Tony Pollard last year? How did that work out for people that took him in hopes that he would have some sort of value if Zeke did actually hold out and it leaked into the regular season? So, I mean, I hate this idea. I mean, yeah, you get lucky every now and then and you pop and you catch lightning in a bottle, but I just don't see Dalvin Cook holding out and actually missing any time this season. And if that's the case, and Madison is just second fiddle to Dalvin Cook, I think I call it madness for Madison if you're thinking it's worth an 8th round, 7th round price tag. Absolutely not.
Just playing it
Madison-ness.
Madness.
In best ball, Kyle made a good point here. It looks good too. I mean, you can probably in a best ball league get him in the 10th round though. So shout out to Riff Reaper. It's so fitting, boys, that we just got our 800th sub as a Bucks fan.
Go Bucks.
Tuning in for a Minnesota Vikings pod.
Speaking of tuning in, Mama, hello. Hey, Mama. Yeah.
Hello, Mama Tate.
As always. But hey, we're going to go ahead and end this episode. Give it sound off in the comments. Let us know what you think about Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, your thoughts on their prospects heading into the 2020 fantasy football season as we break down every backfield and conclude the running back by committee series here on Fantasy Focus today. Coming up in just a couple minutes, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears.
Go Bears.
Bears backfield. Stay with us here on Fantasy Focus. If you haven't yet done so, subscribe, click the little bell so you get the notifications. Until next time, next episode, later, says the Tater.
Levy, I want what you're drinking, bud.
Get sauced.